Wonderful. So it's been a crazy week. Did you see the picture that came up when when we did our evocation? That was LeConte Lodge this week. 34 inches of snow.
Where?
Okay, LeConte Lodge in Tennessee, up near
Top of the Great Smokies.
Cerebral area.
Wow. 34 inches?
34 inches of snow. Yes.
That storm.
That picture came, and I don't have it, but it's actually in the PowerPoint. David's got it over there. The website is like Mount LeConte or LeConteLodge.com or something, and there are people that live there all year long. Okay, and she blogs a lot. She goes on there and talks about what life is like and takes pictures and they put them on the website. It really was fascinating. I saw the picture that I showed up there. Actually, of course, everywhere. Where else am I but Facebook? So Facebook gives me all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, check that website out sometimes. It's really fascinating. I never thought that that place is inhabited year round, but 34 inches of snow in October. So yeah, it's crazy. And we had an earthquake. Did you know we had an earthquake near Marion? Yeah, 2.9 on the Richter scale.
It was on
there Monday, shortly before 8 a.m.
Right when that storm was happening.
Right as the storm was hitting. It was kind of like crazy things were going on with the planet. And there was another one, and I cannot remember if it was Alabama or Arkansas. It was here in the South, and it was one of the two. I remember it was a state that began with an A. I want to say Arkansas because I have a friend whose family is from there, and I remember thinking, I wonder if they're okay, if they're doing all right. But yeah, so crazy stuff, and things like that. I always kind of wonder what is going on with the stars, and then I have to remember, well, in the science of my teaching, we don't really subscribe to things like astrology. But I'll tell you what, for fun, one year I used an astrology day-by-day guide, with your astrological forecast or whatever for a meditation book, and I had a blast doing it, I still don't know if I was seeing that stuff out picture because I read it at 5 o'clock in the morning, as a part of my meditation, or if it was out picturing because there really is something going on there. I love, one of the things I love about this teaching, I love a lot of things, but Ernest Holmes said this is open at the top. So maybe, given that he's now been dead for 40, 50, going on 53 years, okay, he might say maybe there is more to the fields of astrology and the things, the teachings, like of the Native Americans, that the wildlife really show up in our lives to talk to us, to warn us, to talk to us, to encourage us, to love us. I'm really clear, and I know Ann is too, that my cats are in my life to, do whatever has to be done with me on a moment-to-moment basis. If she needs smacking around, get up and go do it. If she needs loving, get up and go do it, So I really believe this is the first interactive toy, this universe, that any of us ever had, So who knows? The weather's a trip. It's just amazing. The other thing I was thinking about this week and thinking about all this weather is that, isn't it a wonderful thing that we're in a teaching that does not subscribe to the belief in a deity that is mad at us or is punishing us, because boy, if we did, we'd have a full plate, trying to figure out what the hell we did wrong this time, I'm so glad that we don't quite, cop to that one anymore. Yeah. Before we move on, I want to say something though. This has been a horrendous time for so many people in this country. And I don't know if you guys pay attention to the weather or not. This morning when I went online, the New York, New Jersey area is looking at another storm. Yeah, I know, right now. No power, no water. It's been going on for days. No food in many places. Horrendous conditions. And they're calling for another one. Another northeaster going in, tearing up that area. So, yeah, please, in everything you're doing, know wholeness for them, know everyone has what they need. Just know that it's all working out perfectly for them. Again, on Facebook, something maybe more valid than some other things I find there. Marianne Williamson posted this week some things about the hurricane and how we as human beings can kind of look at these experiences maybe through a different lens, and so I'll share a little bit of that. She reminds us that while destruction of the kind Hurricane Sandy rendered is usually material, reconstruction always begins. It always starts right here on a spiritual plane. And we know that. You know, we know in this teaching, we get it, that anything that's going to show up out there in our lives has got to start here on some level. We may not be conscious of it, you know, or maybe there's something going on here that doesn't look real good. I'm sure a lot of people in New York and New Jersey and even out on the east coast of North Carolina would agree with me right now that life is not looking too good for them. You know, that things are difficult, and in the face of what may be coming could get worse, if that's imaginable, you know. Yet we get it that anything that ever has to happen has to start right here. So we, you know, give them our spiritual love as we move through this experience. You know, there's not much we can do for them, you know, in the scheme of things. Most of us can't leave our homes and our jobs, our families, and go live in New York, maybe out of a vehicle, and give them food and give them water and give them the care that they need. Well, we can do a whole lot for them in just holding them in a very high place day after day. It will change the nature of the outcome for them. Yeah. So please do that with me this week. Marianne Williamson goes on to tell us some really amazing things. It is situations like this where we learn in whole new ways what it means to live in a community. Not just a community for me to you, but for me to you, but for me there. We get it sometimes from experiences like this, that when tragedy strikes, the thing that we can do the best is to be there in spirit with people, you know, to give them our love, to hold them up. Yeah, it's amazing. We learn what it means to be there for each other when things like this happen. We learn to survive without much of what we thought was necessary for survival, don't we? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We learn to open on a deeper level to the presence of something larger, something greater, something that has the ability to lift us up, as very little in the mortal world can do. We remember to hug all of our kids, the ones with feathers, the ones with fur, and the ones with skin, with more abandoning, don't we? You know, they don't have to like it, it's okay, they'll get over that part. We learn to acknowledge how precious this life experience is, even when it's very uncertain and sometimes scary. We remember to be grateful for our own skin, even when it has funny little things that look like age marks, or it sags, or it, you know, doesn't quite look like it once did. And we learn to be incredibly grateful for things like hot water and sunny days. I got up this morning, and as the sun was coming up, it was very sunny. It was very pretty. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be another one of those stellar fall days. How blessed we are to have that. And to think about the times when you have experienced some kind of funky weather, even if it was just a bad thunderstorm in the middle of the night that woke you up and kind of left you unsettled. The next morning when the sun comes out, how reassuring that is, how safe that feels on the heels of that other experience. We learn to really appreciate the nourishment we get from each other. And you know what? We learn to do what we came here to do. We learn to do it whether we got the right clothes, or whether we got the right shoes, or the right funky, you know, boogie shoes, or whether we got the right vehicle, or whether we got anything at all. This morning in Princeton, my colleague Karen Kushner is holding services at her community. They have no power. They have no water. You can damn well bet they're going to wish they had water by the end of that service, with all those people in that church needing to go to the bathroom. Okay, but they got up and they went, and they made the decision to have their services anyway, because they knew it would be important to hold each other up. Karen hasn't had power in her house, or water in her house all week either. I don't know how you do that, you know. Quite frankly, if it was 30 degrees colder outside and our heat pump went out, I'd be going, we might need to cancel, you know. So that'll be a lesson. If you ever come in here on some Sunday morning and the power isn't on, or the heat pump isn't quite doing what you want it to do, just remember, you know, if we were hard pressed to be doing this, that stuff that we really are, that metal would come out, you know. I'm proud of Karen and her community. So. And if all of that stuff, you guys, the weather and all of that was not enough, then we have this, okay? And I don't know about you, I'm not much of a TV watcher, but I have just gotten absolutely, you know, over the stuff in my mailbox. I mean, it's a plethora of stuff. Now, I recycle, and I have for years, and I have a big 39-gallon trash can outside my back door just for paper. There's one for paper and one for all the other recycling stuff, okay? It's one of the ways that I live my practice, my spiritual practice for the planet. But I go to the mailbox and I'll take out all the important stuff, okay? And then I'll get a big shopping bag and put the rest of the junk mail political stuff in the bag, okay? And haul it up on the back deck and pour it into the trash can every day. You know, the recycling bin, to take it off to where it goes. I feel like I should go through it before I go to the dump and pick it all out and send it back to the people who sent it to me and say, you know, some money could have been spent in a different way. And I think I personally, as a taxpayer and a voter, would have been happier. You know, I know. It's really interesting. You know, it's almost enough to make you think it's a big joke. It's a big scam. It's crazy. Why do we even bother getting up and going to vote? Okay? Maybe it's even rigged. You know, I've seen, like I said, you know, having a strong experience, maybe a symbiotic relationship even with Facebook, that people are on there that are going, I'm not voting for anybody, because they're all criminals, you know? That's a pretty difficult viewpoint to withstand. I would feel pretty hopeless if I was living in that place, you know? But then we see things, you know, that kind of make us think about this. Maybe when you go to the next slide. You know, now if you don't know who these guys are, if you don't know who this guy here is, we need to talk, okay? The other guy is Chris Christie. He's the governor of New Jersey. He's not a Democrat. He's a Republican. And up here he's saying, today I'm touring New Jersey with President Obama. Yeah, he's a Democrat and I'm a Republican, but we're both adults. This is how adults behave, you know? And so sometimes it takes those kinds of crummy experiences in life to bring things out past the political divide, okay? And the stuff of I'm right, you're wrong, okay? Or you're white and I'm black, or whatever the heck it is that we use to keep ourselves separate from each other, you know? I have to say I'm really proud of that picture. I was a little concerned about showing it because, of course, then I thought, well, you're liable to get nailed for supporting any what do they call a party, okay? But the truth of the matter, both of the main ones are represented there. So, you know, sometimes it takes crap to make us recognize that in the field of crap, there's got to be a pony, there's got to be something good happening. So you can go back to the first slide there, the vote. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty wild. And you know, we think about that thing of voting, and the truth of the matter is, you know, that doesn't happen in a lot of places. That's kind of a right. It's kind of a privilege, okay? You know, we think of it as a right, but it really is a privilege. If you look back through history, and it wasn't hundreds of years ago, it isn't just women that have had a problem with getting the right to vote. It's blacks, and it's Native Americans. And today the big population that gets discounted is the homeless. In all but about 15 states, if you do not have a mailing address, you can't vote. Okay? And I don't know that I think that's right. Because the truth of the matter is that I know people who have chosen to go live in their automobiles because that was a way to stay saner and take care of themselves in the face of what the other choices looked like. You know? That's crazy. It's crazy that the homeless can't vote. It's crazy that somebody who's got a problem and ends up with something like imprisonment, it might not be a very serious problem. They didn't kill anybody or, you know, or molest somebody's child or do something really heinous. Maybe they just drank a few too many beers a few too many times. And with the third or fourth or fifth DUI, they ended up in prison. They've lost the right to vote. I don't think that's right, you know. So there's whole sectors of our population that just don't have that opportunity, you know. It's a pretty significant thing. We can look at this country and sometimes we can say, well, there's a lot that needs to be fixed. There's a lot that's wrong. But, you know, looking at that picture of those two gentlemen just a minute ago, there's a lot that's right, too. There's a whole lot that's right about this country. There's a lot more that's right about it than is wrong with it, I believe. And I believe that when we focus on what is right about this country and what is good and what is whole, that we fan the fire of those things and see them grow, you know. One of the things I'm aware of that's really significant, and sometimes I think we take it for granted, is that we have the opportunity right here in the United States to get up on a Sunday morning or a Saturday evening or a Friday night or whenever the Spirit literally moves us and go to a community, a spiritual community of our choosing, you know. And in so many countries, people can't do that. When the founders, if you will, of this thing, I should say the current founders of this thing called Centers for Spiritual Living, were looking for a name and were casting about for ways that would be very inclusive. They took out words like church, and they kept out words like religious from the old name religious science, because they knew that if they used those words in countries as close to us as Mexico, people would not be allowed to open a Science of Mind church. The church in those countries is government ordained, and yet, you know, we can come in here anytime we want. We can hold services. We don't have any kind of Gestapo showing up at the door saying you can't do this. We don't have anybody calling me and telling me you can't teach that. They would have fun if they did. You know, I think I got burned at the stake, but I don't really, or it's not the snake, the stake, you know, I don't know which lifetime that was, and I don't really know that I did live it, so, you know. But there's, you know, there's a lot of cool things going on about these United States of America, you know, and this voting thing is one of them, you know. So you might look at that and you might go, well, what does that V.O.T.E mean? Yeah, it's an acronym, okay? And it stands for volunteering our truth effectively. Forgot my name. Volunteering our truth effectively. Because that's what we're doing. And we're doing it all the time anyway, guys. You know, we're doing it if we understand the principles of science of mind. We get it that even in our sleep we're creating. Even in our sleep we're casting a vote for the things we want to see happen in our worlds. We can't stop that process. I'm not sure that it stops when we leave the physical body and go off to wherever the heck we go before whatever happens, happens. Or while whatever it is that happens, happens. You know? I get it that we don't stop that process. Valerie came in this morning. Can I share what you told? Okay. Valerie came in this morning and she told me, she said, I had a major healing in the middle of the night last night. And you created this. She had a dream that two medical professionals were working on her mouth, and she said it's an abscess tooth, right? She had a very bad abscess in her mouth. In fact, when she came to class Wednesday and mentioned something, I thought, oh my God, whole side of her face is just swollen up there, okay? So she came in this morning and told me she had this miracle. In the night, you manifested, you voted for healing, okay? You cast that vote, and you've been doing other things that cast that vote, by doing what the doctors told you to do and taking care of your body and taking care of your mouth. That sucker is good this morning, isn't it? Doesn't hurt anymore. She can actually bite down now. She couldn't do that beforehand. Isn't that amazing? Okay? So we are always creating. We are always casting a vote. Okay? So let's look at that V.O.T.E thing. Okay? You know, before we can volunteer something, we have to be clear about it. When you are volunteering, you are offering something, right? So you have to know what you stand for before you can offer that to someone else, right? Well, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Volunteering our truth effectively. You have to know your truth, don't you? You can't begin to share that with somebody. Whether they'll accept it or not is a whole different, ball game. But you can't begin to share that with somebody unless you have a really good idea of what you are about, of what you believe in. Yeah, so you have to know your truth. Ernest Holmes in his writings talks about the difference between truth and fact. And the fact stuff is pretty simple. we're sitting here at Open Door Center on Sunday, November the 4th, and we have some gentlemen with us, and we have lots of ladies with us. We have a gender. We don't have an age. If we went around, we would all say, yeah, I was born on such and such a date. Those are the facts, okay? Those are the facts of our lives, okay? This life. But there's something behind that that's even deeper, that's even bigger, and that is truth. And truth is that I don't care what face you wear, I don't care what place you live in, you're divine. The core of who you are is God's stuff. That can't ever be taken away. That spark, doesn't matter what happens in your world, you can't be taken out. Now maybe this body stuff can go away, but the real you, who you are, has never been born, and it cannot die. It's living forever. It is an eternal thing. It is a part of the mind of God. And it might or might not inhabit a body. But wherever it is, it's just as real. It's just as true. It's just as whole. Maybe more so. You know, the Native Americans say that when we come into this form, we go to sleep. We go to sleep. That we are awake when we are not in this physical experience, that this is illusion. Yeah, and it's a strong one, isn't it? I mean, if you have a flat tire, or you cut your hand, or you have an abscessed tooth, it feels real darn real, doesn't it? It's a hard one to get past. Yeah. So, but we have to get past the facts of our lives and begin to listen to the truth, begin to see the truth. Okay? We have to do that for one thing, by listening to that little voice that is always talking, okay? Sometimes it's roaring, but so often we are just deaf to it. Friday night we came together and we watched a movie that's an amazing movie. It's checked out right now, but I encourage you to get it out of the lending library when it comes back. We watched a movie that was hosted by Wayne Dyer, and it's just a powerful experience. This is one of those Tales of Everyday Magic series, and the title is My Greatest Teacher. And it is the story of Wayne Dyer's life, or maybe I should say a part of it. Now, if you don't know about Wayne, I mean, everybody knows who Wayne is, but if you don't know about Wayne, there are some amazing things about Wayne's life that make it very interesting to behold who he is now. He was the third of 3 children. They were all boys. His father left shortly after he was born, and his mother, not having a way to care for them, put them in orphanages. She split her children up and gave them to other people to take care of. And little Wayne Dyer, on one of his audio series, he calls himself Little Wayne Dyer. It's really kind of funny. But this movie that we watched is about the experience that he had. And so for so many years, because of that, he had huge resentment toward his father. He knew that his father was just kind of, in his mind, a ne'er-do-well, kind of useless human being, someone who would run out on his wife and his family. Wayne grew up. He became very educated. He excelled in what he did. And he had an experience. He was, out there early in his career, beginning to write books, beginning to speak. And he was out of town at some kind of a conference, and the rental car that he got had something wrong with it. In the movie, they show that the little AC grate having something stuck in it, and he couldn't get the air to work, so he starts fiddling with it, and lo and behold, out of this brand new rental car, he finds a business card for a place called the Candlelight Inn in Girdville, California. And he's, it's all crumpled and it's old, and he throws it aside. And at this point in Wayne's life, he's not a very happy person. He's got a child and a wife, and one of the early scenes in the movie is him just raging at this child in front of a home full of guests that are present for that child's birthday. He just is losing it. And his wife, who is probably a saint, comes to him. They got like 13 kids. In real life, I mean, you have to be either strung out on Valium or, a Saint or something, okay, to handle that. She goes to him in the movie and says, honey, there's a 6-pack. Go get your 6-pack. Go ahead, get your drink. It'll be fine. I'll take care of the party. She's learned to mediate. Hey, come on in. She's learned to mediate his crazy, abusive behavior between him and the child and him and other people, okay? And she, knits things back together and they have a happy birthday. Well, after that, Wayne is on the road and he has this experience with the rental car where he finds this business card and he doesn't think anything of it. He just throws it aside. And then he has an experience that just won't leave him alone. And it has to do with his father. He begins to really question, who am I and where is this man? And I'm going to find that SOB and I'm going to tell him what I think of him. Because my life is so miserable. It's all his fault. He did it to me. And so he follows one little strange, intuitive thing and a hunch and all these other things. And he ends up in that town, Girdville, California, and he goes in this restaurant and he's eating a bowl of chili and he's talking to the waitress who's been living there, for 30 years, and she said, I remember him. She sees a picture of his dad and says, I remember him, but I don't know who he is or where he is. Well, he tracks his father's grave down and goes there and gives him a piece of his mind, okay? And where that grave site is out in a field that is part of the Candlelight Inn, the place named on that business card. Now, he didn't have, at that point in his life, much of a God, okay? He wasn't very connected, but something somehow drove him to listen to that voice. He couldn't get away from it. I don't think he tried. He changed his life after that. And in the audio recording, I heard the story many years ago on one of his audio recordings. After that, he healed. He called his wife. He said, I'm not coming home. I'm going down to the beach. I'm getting a cheap motel room. I'm going to finish something I started, which I believe was one of his most popular books, The Erroneous Zones. It was one of his early books. This was back in the 1960s, and this actually took place. He stopped drinking. When you think of Wayne Dyer today, would you think abusive? Would you think alcoholic? Would you think insane, mean? Okay? Would you think someone that little children would cry at the sight of? Well, of course not. Okay? But that's who he was. That's how he behaved before he had that experience. Something, somewhere, somehow, the universe made him listen to the next hunch or the next desire. So sometimes it's even those things that we feel like are really negative feedback from the inner plane that are pushing us to do something that truly have our greatest, our highest, our best, in the mix. Isn't that phenomenal? I love Wayne. He's incredible. 15 years ago he was a real unity, and now he's just like real. Okay, he just is. I just think he's wonderful. We have some of his books for sale in the used book sale, by the way, so check it out. Yeah, without that situation, he would not be the light that he is. He listened on some level to his truth. He followed through with it. Okay, and look at what he's done to move forward and volunteer that. Okay, to the rest of us. We volunteer our truth effectively. How do we do that? We live this, guys. We live this, okay? See somebody that needs help, reach out and help them, okay? I'm still kicking myself. About 3 weeks ago, I was just in this really, just totally awesome space. I don't know what I've been listening to something or reading something. It was really, something really cool. And I went to Walmart. And I like the 20 items or less line, because I have it's usually cat litter and cat food, okay, in my house, it's like, what do you go to the store for every Monday, whether you can shop or not? Cat litter and cat food, okay? I'm actually locked out of the house until I come back with it, I think. And I'm standing there and I've got my arms full because I didn't want to get a buggy. And the couple in front of me they're kind of doing this thing with money. And, she's got her purse out and her billfold out, and he's got his money out, and they're counting cash. and they're going with her all the stuff. They had more than 20 items, okay? And she's saying, no, put that back, and here, take this back, and here, take this back, okay? And I thought, what's going on? Because they didn't look really, you know, most of the time if you get up there and you don't have any money, you like are freaking out, right? Okay. Well, I was just in a place to just let them, period, okay? I didn't care if I got out of it too fast or not. And she turned to me, she was very pleasant, and she said, I'm really sorry, I left my checkbook at home. You know, and I said, oh, you know, it's no big deal. You know, to this day, I'm kicking myself. I had a $50 bill in my purse, and I didn't just say, you know, get over it, take it. Pay for what you've got. I don't need it back, okay? You know, we have the opportunity to do good in our lives. So good that really feeds us so rarely. Now, we'll all do wonderful things with a blanket drive, okay? We'll all do wonderful things, you know, for our families and our loved ones and our neighbors and other people around the holidays, you know. And yet, it's so important to live that on a day-to-day basis. That's one of the ways that we volunteer our truth effectively, you know. In every single moment we are birthing, you are a mother and you are in labor with every breath, okay? What are you giving birth to, you know? Volunteer your truth effectively. We have to think about, do my behaviors, do my words, does my lifestyle, does this reflect who I really am? You know, years ago, 20-something years ago, I started recycling, okay? My children think I am insane. As I mentioned, I have 2 39-gallon trash bags on my back deck. It takes up almost the whole deck, okay? And even a little scrap of paper, okay, a little scrap, I don't throw it in the trash. I put it in the recycling, okay? Years ago, that became my mantra, my amends for the really pretty interesting things that I used to barf up on the planet when I was back there behaving like Wayne used to, okay? How do we live it? It matters, okay? It really does matter, yeah. Our power does not come from being separate. It comes from truth. So as we close, vote this week, okay? And I know that most of you probably have, okay? I didn't get there early, so I guess I'm going Tuesday. That's the alternative now. So I don't even know where I vote now, but since I moved, I've got to find that piece out tomorrow when they open. But go and vote and volunteer who you are. Volunteer your truth effectively. If something is working in your life, be willing to share that with people in a way that they can hear it. You know, sometimes we have to think about how we put things out there for people so that it works for them a little better than just blurting out, you know, the unvarnished truth. But go out there and vote every day because you're voting anyway. As we close, I have something Ernest wrote. God love him. Ernest had something for just about every occasion. You know that he was a prolific writer. I don't know how many books the man wrote, but more than all I will read. This is just a short prayer. It's called My Prayer for My Country. Believing in the divine destiny of the United States of America and in the preservation of liberty, security, and self-expression for all, I offer this, my prayer for my country. I know that divine intelligence governs the destiny of the United States of America, directing the thought and the activity of all who guide its affairs. I know that success, prosperity, and happiness are the gifts of freedom and are the divine heritage of everyone in this country. I know that success, prosperity, and happiness are now operating in the affairs of every individual in this country. I know that divine guidance enlightens the collective mind of the people of this country, causing it to know that economic security may come to all without the loss of either personal freedom or individual self-expression. I know that no one can believe or be led to believe that freedom must be surrendered in order to ensure economic security for all. I know the all-knowing mind contains the answer to every problem which confronts this country. I know that every leader in this country is now directed by this all-knowing mind and has the knowledge of a complete solution to every problem. Each one is compelled to act upon this knowledge to the end that abundance, security, and peace shall come to all. And I know that this spiritual democracy shall endure, guaranteeing to everyone in this country personal liberty, happiness, and self-expression. And so it is. Thank you.
So we have a little video.